come in the morning.
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
Love it.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to be done. Okay, so here's the plan. The 3-3 homework we do, I don't know, by the end of the semester. If you're not ready to turn it in tomorrow, get to me by Tuesday. Okay? I am going to grade those tests that you had taken. I am not going to be as stringent as just to know what you have to, just to give you points for doing it. So I'm going to do. Okay, and I need to know what I need to go over. Like, I know I need to go over half-life, I know I need to go over inverses, and I think I know where everyone's struggling with limits at. Okay? And then the continuity stuff. So yesterday when I met with IU, and I'm just saying this so people in the video can hear, I have to give 3 midterm tests, and I can create those, or I can use ones that they have provided, and then, but I have to give the IU final, and that won't be until May. Okay? And then I can do whatever I want for homework and quizzes, as long as my percentages are the same. So like the final is 35%, and each midterm is 15%. So then the homework and any like little quizzes would make up the other, what is that, 20%?
Maybe for gold.
Can't find my blue pen.
It's gotta be blue?
Yes, because
Use
I
the
already
good one.
started like that.
Okay. Well, I'm just working on homework questions, so
Okay.
is that gonna affect your life then, with the blue pen? Okay. Okay, so bad news is I only got through number 40 on my homework, but the good news is we can work them out together. It's just, it may take me a little bit longer than normal.
That is okay.
So, are there questions on the homework? Oh, okay, so then tomorrow, the plan is I'm going to start talking about, I'll answer some questions on the homework during your final exam time, because you're not taking a test, and then we'll start talking about the chain rule. Okay, and then we'll finish the chain rule come January. Okay, so this homework, I guess we'll just start with questions like 1 through 13. 13? Corey, I'm proud of you. You were like on time today.
He was not
There's a
on
couple
time,
minutes
but
Oh,
Well, you weren't super late.
I was the same lateness as Hannah and Faith.
Yeah.
yeah, I was late.
well, I know, but I'm just saying you're not like 10 minutes. Good morning. Today? Yeah, during homework? Okay. Okay,
Yay.
Wait.
Do we get extra credit for that?
yes.
Oh, yes.
But
Do they
I'm
have to be
gonna-
right?
Huh?
Do they have to be right?
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe I might
I'm not having a city council meeting today. Is that okay with you?
No.
No.
I think we're okay to not meet until we come back.
You probably make an announcement or something about it.
Okay.
If like people come.
Were we supposed to have one today?
Well, we're supposed to have it every Thursday, remember?
Okay, so here's what I was thinking for the math league. This is what I've always done in the past. 2 points extra credit for taking it, 1 point for each problem you get right after that. What do you think about saving it for next 9 weeks?
Yeah.
That sounds like a
Or do you
great
really want it
idea.
on this 9 weeks?
I
Can
don't
we
really
like
think so.
choose, because I don't know what my grade's gonna be right now.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna be low enough to need it?
Okay, Carly Ellen, I have a 99.7%.
I think you're okay. Okay, I haven't put grades in a while, so you can let me know.
Congratulations, baby. I'm proud of you.
How about this? I will put it on next 9 weeks, unless, like in the third 9 weeks, unless you tell me Tuesday. So get me through like today and tomorrow to get grades put in, and get those tests graded, and then if you don't tell me, I'm just gonna hold off. If you tell me you want it this 9 weeks, I'll put it on.
So is each of our 9 weeks grade just gonna be 50%?
Correct, yes, for this semester.
Also, I'm concerned I might have not turned homework in, because this looks like homework that I didn't turn in. But it's not done, so I don't really know what it is. Does there anything I haven't turned in?
Did you turn in Appendix D homework?
Yeah. I just turned that in. This would've been from like, this would've been from like a long time ago.
First semester.
No, this would be like 2-8.
I feel like she probably just gave you points for it.
Okay, well, everything
It didn't
before
work on
I took over, she gave everybody 100%.
Okay, so I'm fine then.
It didn't work.
Honestly, I think they're.
Like in every class.
Really? I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like
No,
accidentally.
you're okay, and I will find you guys, I will tell you guys tomorrow if anyone's missing anything. when I see you guys in the final exam time, but I'll give you till Tuesday to
Oh
get it
my
turned.
gosh, I forgot about that. We're not testing.
You're not testing.
She just said
But
that
your
like
first
2
period-
seconds ago.
Your first period, you have a final tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's fine.
Okay. Alright, 13.
Because you have 3 days.
So, Lucas, you're not allowed to answer. So on this one, because I don't want you to confuse Hannah, you have to do the quotient rule. So what does the quotient rule say?
Oh.
G of X.
G of X,
The quotient rule, there we go.
and then it's the derivative of f of x, right?
I have a question. Before we keep going.
You sound like an elephant.
See, why I was having trouble and I worked it out and it didn't work out or whatever because I thought that was a product rule and a quotient rule.
It is.
Oh, it
But
is?
you gotta do the quotient rule first.
Why
Why?
do you have to do it first?
Yeah, okay, you don't have to do it first, I think it's easier to do it first.
Okay, then let's do it first.
You know, I guess you don't have to, you should still get the same answer. I just think it's less work.
Whatever is easier.
But it is a product rule and a quotient rule together. I
I'll
just
take
did the
your word
quotient rule
for it.
first.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
Okay, you good now?
Yeah.
Minus, and then it's f of x times the derivative of g of x all over
Shoot, what am I doing?
g of x. I have no idea.
I feel that.
Make them X's.
Okay,
Really, Lucas?
Yeah, really.
Go on.
okay, so this is when you would have to use product rules for this part right here. So this is why I wrote it all out like separately. You guys probably like did some of this in your head on the way down.
Nah.
Or you didn't do it at all yet. That's an option too.
See, there you
My brain doesn't operate like that.
Okay, so then I have the 1 plus t. Now I need to do the product rule with the t sine t. So what does your product rule say you're
F
going to
of
do?
X.
F of x times,
G of X.
no, not g of x.
Or the,
Derivative of g. So what's the derivative of sine? Cosine. Okay. Then it's plus, and then it's
G of X.
g of x, so sine times the derivative of f of x. What's the derivative of t? 1.
Plus 0.
Minus. Okay, and then this would be t sine t. The derivative of 1 is
0.
0. So what's the derivative of this parentheses?
1.
1.
Man, we're good.
All over.
I've ever seen it. I just thought that's what I think of.
What?
The quadratic formula song, you said all over, and then she said 2A.
I don't know the quadratic formula song.
No,
What?
I remember you made us stand up and sing it.
No,
My
freeze,
brain-
freeze.
No,
Oh,
you made
yeah,
us
because
sing
I said I didn't know it.
It was
Yeah,
like,
I was
it was
singing
like me,
something about
Gavin, we're like the only freshmen in there and the rest were sophomores. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing.
I did make you do that, didn't I?
You made us like stand up and like every day a person would stand up and say something about themselves or talk for 30 seconds for
You
the
never made us
longest
do
time.
that.
Yeah, because no one talked in that class.
But then 6-hour algebra 2 class didn't shut up the rest of the year and I don't think you liked us. So you started something.
Okay, then maybe you're right. Then I would distribute. Okay, so then I would have t cosine t plus sine t plus t squared cosine t plus t sine t. So I distributed the 1 to both of them, then I distributed the t to both of them. Okay, then I still have this part. So if I multiply by 1, that's minus t sine t. Over 1 plus t squared. Okay, now technically, the only thing you can do now is cancel the t sine t and the minus t sine t. Now, the book, like if you're looking at a solution manual, like checking your answers anywhere. They get like the cosines together and factor it out to make it look a little prettier. This is totally fine. What they did is they're like, oh, I have a t cosine and a t squared cosine, so that would be t squared plus t times cosine, and then plus sine. They have this, which I don't really think looks any simpler. Is simpler a word, or is it more simple? Simpler. Okay. Sometimes I'm not good on those kind of words. Really like problems now that take up like 6 lines. Isn't that like every calculus
All my
problem?
problems take up 6 lines.
I know. Welcome to calculus. Okay, what other questions do you have on the first parts, 1 through 13? For those of you that have worked on it.
12.
12?
Ruthie, why do you have baseballs?
What?
Why do you have baseballs?
NHL.
She would like to
I'm
just,
joining the baseball.
Okay, that makes sense.
she's gonna try it out, so she's practicing at school just by like carrying them around.
I have to get hand-eye coordination now.
Okay, so this is quotient rule, right? Okay. So what am I gonna do?
G of X.
Okay, so 1 minus sine x. Okay, now I want the derivative of cosine. So what's the derivative of cosine?
Negative sine.
Negative sine. Okay. Minus, what comes next?
Cosine x.
Cosine x times, okay, so what's the derivative of 1 minus sine?
0.
0
Minus cosine.
minus cosine. So can we just put negative cosine?
Yeah.
Okay, and this would be over 1 minus sine squared. Good so far? Okay, so then if I distribute, 1 times negative sine is negative sine. Negative sine times negative sine. Positive sine squared. Okay, now if I multiply these two together, and 2 negatives make a positive. Okay, you can keep simplifying.
So that makes 1.
What makes 1?
Sine squared plus cosine squared.
Yes. Oh,
Good job, Lucas.
What do you use your brain to do?
So it's
Which one
time-
do you want?
Then it's 1 over sine.
So then this would be
I've got
negative sine x plus 1.
Over
I didn't need any more.
1.
Kids laugh.
Okay, now is it negative sine x plus 1 the same thing as 1 minus sine x?
Yeah.
So then one of those cancels.
Oh, boom.
So then I just have 1 over 1 minus sine. Isn't that
I think
fun?
that's how all math problems should be.
They should all
It
like-
should all end pretty like that.
They can't end like with 13.
That's too complicated.
That's
It doesn't work like that.
That's just not real life.
Well,
Well, we can all dream, Miss Whaley, okay?
You can. It's a hot mess over here.
I feel that on a high level.
my mom gave them to me. I don't know where she got them from.
I bought them at one of those pop-up bookstore things that we used to have in Spooky's Corn.
Oh,
They-
yeah.
They used to have all
Yes,
kinds
we-
of
and the
erasers like
erasers,
that.
yeah.
There'd be like
The
hamburgers.
book fair.
tacos.
Yeah.
Fair.
Remember to get all mine.
And she said that she went to some store in Newcastle and she got all of their coins. Oh my god. She
It
would?
was like Five Below or something like that.
Is there a Five Below in
Okay,
Newcastle?
Okay, maybe a store like Five Below.
That's a great store. I'll ask her if you really want to know. but I
Did
don't
you let her
really
Miss Quiz present yesterday?
know. Listen, I walked in there and she goes, and she was the only one in there, and she's never been in there all week. I was like, good morning, and she goes, oh, these presents have been precious every day, and I was like, you get to find out who it is on Friday, and she was like, oh, our luncheon's tomorrow, right? I was like, yeah, and she opens this ornament, because I already looked at it before, and she was like so amazed, she was like, oh my gosh, I love it, she was like freaking out, and I was
With
like,
the succulent?
no,
Yeah,
it
she was
like
telling
this-
us all about that yesterday. She's like, this is so cool. I really like
She-
real
Miss
succulents.
Gwen,
They look
she was so
they look
happy.
real.
Lucas. I know she thinks it's a girl too, because when I went in there and delivered it, like all the presents he got her is so girly. Like she probably thinks it's such a girl.
There's a coffee mug and hot chocolate.
I know, but she's probably
I think
thinking it's a
it's
girl,
supposed to be
especially since
girly.
I've been delivering it.
What is the answer on number 10?
Sorry. We're just talking about Secret Santa and you bring
It's
math.
technically simplified farthest to cosine 2 theta. Did you have negative sine squared plus cosine squared?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can break that down to cosine 2 theta from your trig identities paper.
What is your answer on number 8?
Oh,
Why don't you
like
just
that
why
one?
don't you just
Yes.
ask for the answer key?
Yeah.
It's cosine minus.
I would love to.
No, just later, just takes the answer.
Which one is
Yeah, but I don't want to use that, Corey.
Just check your answers, Hannah, not to
Yeah.
copy it down.
which one are these?
Or to learn how to do it. if you
How
don't
will
Cosine
know.
2
we-
theta is the same thing as cosine squared minus sine squared.
She just uses
Don't
B.
I changed halfway through my FSC.
You can use Slayer, she just uses me.
Who said that?
I did.
About me?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay,
No,
any
about
other
the
ones on
first-
1 through
She
13?
uses me too.
What about 22 and 24?
I was working on 24, so you could do it.
I could, or you could do it.
Yeah.
Ooh, boom. Got her back.
What about 31 or 33?
33.
33 because you don't know what it means? Or you don't know how to do
I
it?
just- Well,
Oh, I
I
have that
think
one.
I finished it.
Okay, so if it has a horizontal tangent, that means its slope has to be 0, okay? So what you do is you find the derivative, so y, sometimes sometimes I think people go with what it's asking and how to actually, this is 33.
Yeah.
Is it x sine x, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're finding the tangent line, you always have to find the derivative.
Two-
Okay.
X plus 2
You're
sine
right,
X.
I am.
It's x plus 2 sine x?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Sorry.
I'm very,
Okay, so when you're finding the tangent, you find the derivative. So the derivative of this, well, what's the derivative of x?
1.
1, and this would be 2, and then what's the derivative of sine?
Cosine.
Cosine. Oh, this is derivative. Okay, so if I want my slope to be a horizontal tangent, that means my slope has to be 0. So I would just set this equal to 0 and figure out what my x has to be. So then I would subtract 1, divide by 2, and then I have to figure out, okay, where is cosine negative a half? Okay, so that would be 2 pi over 3, and it also occurs in another place on the unit circle.
4 pi over
4 pi over 3. Now, once you start getting into like higher order classes, higher level classes, this is just on the first circle. So what they would probably show it as is then they would say like plus 2n pi. Because that means, or 2 pi n is probably how they would write it. That means it doesn't matter how many circles you do. If I started at 2 pi over 3, if I did 1 circle, that's adding 2 pi. If I did 2 extra circles, 4 pi, etc. I'm okay with this. Then they also will take it a little bit further, and like they would factor stuff out and go from there. But I'm okay if you just do the first unit circle. Just keep in mind if you ever take like Calc 2, Calc 3, and higher classes than that, they start transitioning to this. Okay?
How do you factor that?
Well, you would take out like the pi, the 2,
Um,
and then it'd be like n plus 1/3 n, 1/3 plus n, yeah. They're just trying to say, which is true, not every angle falls within 360 degrees. So what happens if you have 800 degrees? Well, this would also apply to that. Well, if it's in,
1/3.
yes, and this would be 4 pi over 3, so, same thing. Okay? You guys have only just dealt with in one circle, which is fine.
I just like the one circle.
Huh? You said one circle?
Yeah.
Alright, what was the next one? The limits? Okay, I haven't worked all the
39.
limits out, but we can start and then go.
40. I need help with all of them, so we just start at the beginning.
39.
I got this.
No, I'm saying that's the first one. Okay, Corey?
Have you tried 39 yet, thing?
No.
Okay, why don't you try it first?
No, I was just saying that was the first
I don't know how to
problem, that,
fully-
like,
Because I
that's the
think-
next problem.
I think you could probably do it.
Yeah, I
You
can do
think
39,
so?
we just
You
need
can
to start
do
with
it.
40.
You have faith in me?
I
If I
do.
did it, you can do it.
I have,
Corey, shut up.
I have faith in faith.
Oh, thanks. I've never heard that one before.
Really? That doesn't make sense. I find that hard to believe.
I have no faith in that statement.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so we know if we can get him to be sine theta over theta or sine x over x, that the limit as x goes to 0 is 1, right?
Yep.
Okay. So just focus on the top sign for right now. If I want to get that top sign to go away, I would have to have an x on the bottom. This x is attached here, so that doesn't count. So I could multiply top and bottom by x. Okay? So I'm going to try to split this up so you can see it, because this would be sine x times x. Now I need this to go under here, so this would be x, and then I'll leave the sine pi x here.
Wait, why are we
What
doing
did you
this?
just do?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because we know this identity is true. So if I can get, I have to get, if I don't want a sign on the denominator, I'm eventually going to have to get rid of my signs. The only way I can do that is to be able to have sine of the angle over that angle, because the limit as x goes to 0 is 1. So if I have this sign on top, if I have an x on bottom, this is going to give me 1. So I just split it up so like they go together. Because this is going to cancel out to be 1. Okay. I just didn't write it as like one fraction. Okay. Are we any better or no?
She cross multiplied, and she
No,
just
I didn't
wrote-
cross multiply. I just multiplied top and bottom.
That's what I'm saying, it's like you just wrote it out when you did, like you didn't write it as one.
Correct. I didn't write it as one. I left them separated. So I left this separate. The times will be in between here. But instead of putting this one under here, I just flipped where they were. Because it doesn't matter. Multiplying, you can flip where they are. But I know the limit as x goes to 0 of sine x over x is 1 because of this identity. So then this I can bring out. This is now 1 times the limit as x goes to 0 over this now.
Why'd you start with sine x over sine x or sine pi x?
That's the problem.
That's the original, this is the original problem. Like for here, there, that's the original problem.
I always get the complicated stuff. You guys, this is the silly stuff.
That's like the original.
Okay.
Okay,
Why did you put the 1 out front?
because the limit as x goes to 0 of sine x over x is 1. So we took care of this limit, so now this is 1 times whatever we get here. Okay, I'm gonna try not to confuse, but I probably will. Okay, if this has a pi x in it, let's pretend this is on top, okay? It's not, but we're gonna pretend. What does it need on bottom for the limit to be 1? Pi x, okay. So on bottom, so then on top I need to have a pi x, correct? Okay, so I have an x, so what would I need to multiply by? Pi. Okay, now, 1 times anything is the same thing, right? So is everybody okay if I just drop this part off now? Yep. Okay.
I would love it.
Alright, hopefully I'm not gonna confuse you. I'm gonna put pi x over sine pi x. Okay, that times 1 over pi. Does that make sense? Because I had to put those together. Okay, now, if this goes to 1, what do you think the reciprocal of it goes to? 1, because what's the reciprocal of 1? 1. So this is just going to give me 1. So now I have 1 times the limit as x goes to 0 of 1 over pi. Well, is there an x to plug anything into here? No, so what's my limit? Just 1 over pi.
So why did you multiply by 1 over pi?
This one right here is from here. So
No, up there. Like right there.
oh, right here? Okay. Because if this is my angle, I need this to be exactly the same. So this has an x, but it doesn't have a pi.
The 1 over pi, the next step.
Oh, okay. So all I did was, I need these to be the same, but the pi doesn't go with that to cancel, so I left it off separately. So I didn't multiply or anything again. I just put the pi with the x here, but this pi I left separate.
Oh, okay.
It's like the same thing I did up here. Okay. I'm sure you love these problems. Do you feel better, Hannah, after checking your answers?
I only checked 2 of them, but yes, I do know. Thank
You're welcome.
you. I'm not even gonna try and act like I know that one.
So what are you gonna do now?
41.
I haven't done any of these yet, so we can learn together. Okay, where do you think you would start?
Make them a tangent sine or cosine.
Okay, that's a good place I would start too. What's another place you could start? I would say there's 2 options. That's a good option.
For sure.
Angles even.
You can't really do that. Okay, but if I already have a sine here, could I get the same angle on, get the same thing on top to cancel that out? You could do that first too. Okay, doesn't really matter. So she says she wants to get the tangent, the sines and cosines. So this would be sine 6t over cosine 6t. Okay, now am I going to confuse anybody if I pull this off to the side?
It's just a reciprocal.
Right. Because you got 2 things you got to take care of. You have to take care of this one's going to need more work than this one's going to need. Okay? Okay, so the cosine on bottom's okay, because what's the cosine of 0? 1, okay? But this one's not okay because you can't take the sine of this 0 and divide. So what could I do to get rid of this sine 2t? Multiply by 2t. Okay, so then I would have the limit, t goes to 0. And I'm going to try not to be confusing when I do this. Does everybody understand how I went? I multiplied the 2t here, but then I left this one separate. Okay. now the limit of this is 1, okay, so now I would have
So sign doesn't necessarily have to be on top for it to be 1.
well, okay,